Welcome. Today we are looking at reading comprehension, focusing on inference and conclusion. This is a key topic in your English language exams for SS3. Pay close attention. Let us begin. First, let me explain what inference is. Inference is the process of drawing logical conclusions from evidence in a text. When you infer, you read between the lines. The author does not state the information directly. You must use clues from the text plus your own reasoning. For example, if a passage says, John grabbed his umbrella and raincoat before stepping out, you can infer that it is raining. The author did not say, it is raining, but the clues tell you. Inference is a higher level reading skill. It requires you to think critically. In your exam, you will be asked to make inferences about characters, events, settings, and the author's attitude. Now, let me explain what conclusion is. A conclusion is a judgment or decision reached after considering the facts. When you draw a conclusion, you combine multiple pieces of information to form a new idea. For example, if a passage says, the temperature dropped below freezing, the roads were covered in ice, schools announced closures, you can conclude that it was a severe winter storm. Conclusions are often the main idea of a passage or the outcome of a series of events. In your exam, you may be asked to draw conclusions about the author's purpose, the main idea, or the outcome of a story. Now let me explain the difference between inference and conclusion. Inference uses clues from the text to understand what is implied. Conclusion uses multiple facts to form a new understanding. Inference is often about a specific detail. Conclusion is often about the overall meaning. Both require you to think beyond the words on the page. Both are tested in your exam. Now, let me explain the types of inference questions. The first type is inference about character. You may be asked to infer a character's feelings, motives, or personality trait. For example, how did the character feel when she received the news? The answer is not directly stated. You must look at the character's actions and words. The second type is inference about setting. You may be asked to infer the time period or location. Clues might include technology, clothing, or language. The third type is inference about events. You may be asked to infer what happened before or after the passage. Clues might include cause and effect relationship. The fourth type is inference about the author's attitude. You may be asked to infer the author's tone or opinion. Clues include word choice and sentence structure. Now, let me explain the steps for making inferences. Step 1. Read the passage carefully. Pay attention to details. Step 2. Look for clues. Words, phrases, and sentences can all be clues. Step 3. Combine the clues with your own knowledge. What do you already know about the situation? Step 4. Make a logical guess. Your inference must be supported by the text. Step 5. Check your inference against the passage. Is there evidence to support it? Does any information contradict it? Now let me give you an example passage for inference. Read this passage. Adebayo checked his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. He paced back and forth across the room. His palms were sweaty. He kept looking at the door. What can you infer about Adebayo? The clues are that he checked his watch repeatedly, he paced, his palms were sweaty, and he kept looking at the door. These are signs of nervousness or anxiety. You can infer that Adebayo is waiting for someone or something important. He is nervous about the outcome. The author never says Adebayo was nervous, but the clues support that inference. Now let me give you another example. The old man's hands trembled as he held the faded photograph. Tears welled up in his eyes. He whispered a name that had not been spoken in 50 years. What can you infer? The man is looking at an old photograph. He is emotional. He whispers a name from long ago. You can infer that the photograph is of someone he loved and lost. He misses that person. He has not spoken the name in 50 years, so the loss is very old. Now, let me explain the steps for drawing conclusions. Step 1, identify the key facts in the passage. Step 2, look for relationships between facts. Step 3, combine the facts to form a new idea. Step 4, state your conclusion. Step 5, check that your conclusion is supported by the passage. Now, let me give you an example passage for conclusion. Read this passage. For 3 months there was no rain. The rivers dried up. The crops withered in the fields. Cattle collapsed from thirst. Families began to leave their homes in search of water. What conclusion can you draw? The key facts are no rain for 3 months, dried rivers, withered crops, thirsty cattle, and families leaving. You can conclude that there is a severe drought. The region is suffering from lack of water. The author does not say there is a drought, but the facts lead to that conclusion. Now let me give you another example. The company's profits had fallen for 5 consecutive quarters. The CEO resigned suddenly. 3 senior managers were fired. The stock price dropped by 60%. What conclusion can you draw? The key facts are falling profits, CEO resignation, senior managers fired, and stock price drop. You can conclude that the company is in serious financial trouble. It may be facing bankruptcy or a major restructuring. Now, let me explain the difference between explicit and implicit information. Explicit information is directly stated in the text. You can point to the sentence. Implicit information is implied. You must infer it. For example, the room was freezing is explicit. It directly says the room was cold. She wrapped her arms around herself and shivered is implicit. You infer that she is cold. In your exam, you will need to identify both explicit and implicit information. Now, let me explain common errors in inference and conclusion. The first common error is going beyond the text. Do not add information that is not supported. Your inference must be based on evidence. The second common error is ignoring clues. Pay attention to details. Small words can be important clues. The third common error is making assumptions based on your own experience. Base your inference on the text, not on what you think should happen. The fourth common error is confusing inference with summary. A summary restates what the passage says. An inference adds meaning that is not directly stated. The fifth common error is choosing the literal meaning when an implied meaning is intended. Now, let me give you more practice passages. Read this passage. The little girl clutched her mother's hand tightly. Her eyes were wide. She peeked around the corner and then quickly pulled her head back. What can you infer? The girl is afraid or nervous. She is hiding from someone or something. She does not want to be seen. The author does not say the girl was scared. But the clues support that inference. Now read this passage. Professor Okonkwo spent 40 years teaching at the university. Hundreds of his students went on to become doctors, lawyers, and engineers. At his retirement ceremony, the hall was filled with former students who had travelled from across the country to honour him. What conclusion can you draw? Professor Okonkwo was a respected and influential teacher. He had a positive impact on many lives. His students valued him enough to travel long distances to honour him. Now, let me explain how to answer exam questions on inference and conclusion. A common question asks, what can be inferred from the passage? Here is a sample answer strategy. First, identify what is being asked about. Is it a character, an event, or the author's attitude? Then look for clues in the passage. Combine the clues with your own reasoning. Choose the option that is most strongly supported by the text. Eliminate options that are not supported or that contradict the text. Another common question asks, which of the following conclusions is best supported by the passage? Here is your answer strategy. First, identify the main facts of the passage. Look for patterns or relationships. Then evaluate each option. Does the option follow logically from the facts? Is it supported by evidence? Eliminate options that go beyond the text or that are contradicted by the text. Choose the option that is most reasonable. Let me give you a quick summary. Inference means reading between the lines. You use clues to understand what is implied. Conclusion means combining facts to form a new understanding. Steps for inference include reading carefully, looking for clues, combining clues with your knowledge, making a logical guess, and checking your inference. Steps for conclusion include identifying key facts, looking for relationships, combining facts, stating your conclusion, and checking your conclusion. Common errors include going beyond the text, ignoring clues, making assumptions, confusing inference with summary, and choosing literal meaning. Practice with passages daily. Keep reviewing, keep practicing. See you in the next topic.